On this week's GTA 5 o'clock, they never give audio interviews, ever. But they have now. We chat exclusively to Rockstar North about combat, customization and much, much more. You won't hear it anywhere else. It's this week's second episode of GTA 5 o'clock. Hello, welcome to this week's second GTA 5 o'clock. I'm Tim Weaver. I'm here with Dan Dawkins. Hello, Dan.
Hello.
It's an exciting show today. We've got an exclusive for you, an interview with the guys at Rockstar North. People, Dan, who never, ever give interviews.
Yeah, they give interviews about as often as I've seen Haley's Comet, which might in fact be never. So it's really exciting today to talk to them. Just to head this off at the pass, we're not, at liberty to talk about literally anything and everything, but whilst we're focusing primarily on combat and customization, we can tell you that we are touching on areas that haven't been previously described in the big Game Informer interview, and you're going to like what you're going to hear, trust me.
Okay, so the interview we did earlier was with a guy called Imran Sarwar. He's the producer and lead mission designer on GTA 5. He was hugely interesting, and here's what he had to say.
So the first question would be, you mentioned in the Game Informer interview that some missions ask you to customize vehicles in certain ways. Could you give us an example of how this might work?
Well, the vehicles in general, it can be modified in many different ways. Not only, you've got the obvious visual ones like paint jobs, wheels, tires. You can even customize the horn. There's a few fruity little horn sounds in there as well, which they're like. But you can modify it for some missions and heists, and that would include stuff like roll cages, bulletproof tires, armor, performance mods like engine tuning, brakes. That'll affect the handling, that sort of thing. So, we will. I think there'll be plenty there for the player to mod, basically for the car with regards to the cars, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think there's probably around over 1,000 combinations and different little things they can do to the cars. So
might it be possible to give us like an abstract example of how it might work? Like, for example, might you need some kind of nitro to jump a particular area or something like that? That's just me, being hypothetical there.
Yeah, you've got stunt jumps. Some people might be able to do a stunt jump with just a fast car, but it would help if you modded your car and you could hit that stunt jump a lot better. Really, if you had a turbo, for example. So it would vary. It varies in the task, but then you've got missions. If you're in a mission and you're getting attacked, having armor on your car, roll cage, that will really help you in the mission. Your car essentially will be tougher, so you could slug it out a bit longer. Likewise with bulletproof tires, how many times in the previous game has your tires popped and you thought, oh damn it, the police have got me, but if you got bulletproof tires, it just gives you that extra edge.
What would happen? What would happen if you had like a car that was really, really pimped up, but somebody shot the tires out and you couldn't drive it back to safety anymore?
You could drive. You could leave the car and it will turn up at an impound later on, and the player can pay a little fine and get it back.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it'd be sad to think you'd lost it.
Imran, in what ways would you be able to sort of weaponize a vehicle, if any? You talked about the sort of defensive measures, I guess, like roll cages and bulletproof tires and that sort of thing. Is there any way to kind of weaponize it to make it even more dangerous than the fact that you can drive it at insane speeds?
I wouldn't think there's anything directly like that, but Grand Theft Auto being an open game, there's lots of little options for the player to do. We've got petrol tanks now that the player can shoot and they can leak gasoline. So, for example, you could have enemies behind a car and cover, or you could even have your car leaking petrol, drive it into a group of enemies, run away, shoot the petrol trail, it'll light up and the car will explode. Boom, you killed a few enemies that way. So there's things like that really that you can do. Also, you can stick sticky bombs on a vehicle, drive it in somewhere, and explode them that way.
Well, that sounds fantastic.
We're really looking forward to seeing what the players come up with on missions. It'll be some ingenious ways, I'm sure, of solving problems.
Again, in the Game Informer interview, it was talked about when you visit LS Customs. It mentioned particularly you speak to the mechanic. Now, is that just the turn of phrase, or is it that the mechanic will like recommend certain additions and mods for you?
Well, the mechanic will be a character that will be known to one of the players, so I'd rather the player sort of experience that for themselves. But he'll be there, and you'll speak to him whilst you're in the garage.
Okay.
But with the weapons as well, this time you will keep a gun, so you will never lose a gun. If it runs out of ammo, you'll still keep it. So your guns are going to be with you throughout the whole game. So
once you sort of picked up a gun, you that stays with you throughout. You never lose that.
No, it'll stay with you throughout the whole game.
Cool. And will guns, like customized guns, improve your performance in things like some of the side missions, like where we've seen the target practice, or even in sort of like some of the street racing type stuff we've seen with the cars?
Yeah, I mean, guns will have a big effect on the game, really. And customizing weapons will broaden the range of tactical options available to the player when approaching missions. So if you had a suppressor for your pistol, you might want to take on a mission in a stealthy way. But if you wanted to go a bit more gung-ho, you could get like a bigger clip, grips to improve your accuracy, and then just go for a full frontal assault. And you can also get like a scope if you wanted to just go, I want to pick enemies off in this next mission. So they give you a lot of options, and it also coupled with this player stats, the player's gonna have a lot of options to do a lot of missions.
Okay, so Imran, could you talk sort of about how hand-to-hand combat works in the game? Maybe how it's evolved since GTA 4, and what options are available to you when you just got your fists to do some harm.
Well, when it comes to GTA, it's primarily about weapons and vehicles, but we've given the melee system a big overhaul, and sort of moved the emphasis away from static fights to a more free-flowing system. So now you can attack any target in any direction at any time, and you can quickly switch your focus to different enemies that you're engaging with. So you no longer need to lock on at all to have a fight with the target, although you can still lock on if you wish. So like I said, it's just a lot more free flowing, really, and hits are much more satisfying, especially with melee weapons. You really feel the impact, the crunch when you hit someone. But essentially, we just wanted this to be free flowing, fun, and open. So the player could take on multiple targets.
Will any of the characters be specifically better at hand-to-hand combat? For example, in the trailers, Trevor seems pretty handy in a ruck. And will he have access to any different moves?
Yeah, I mean, each of the characters they'll have different animations set. And also, I've touched on this as well, there will actually be like a strength stat in the game, and that will affect how powerful the player is with regards to melee combat, and also how much damage they can take as well. So that'll have a bearing on each individual character's melee sort of capabilities.
We've heard a lot about locomotion and targeting, but what more can you tell us about cover? Like, for example, will scenery be destructible? And can you exploit it to your advantage for, for example, shooting out windows or scenery that enemies are hiding behind, or shooting out glass to let people drop to the floor?
Yeah, so in terms of the actual players, cover mechanics, we spent a lot of time on that as well. We really wanted it to be intuitive, just to allow them to make fast choices in gameplay, whilst giving them more options in combat as well. So, it's a lot of time's been spent on making it responsive, letting the player make quick decisions. They can shoot from cover, move around corners, jump over cover, blind fire. It's all there for them to do. Likewise, with regards to enemies as well, you can shoot through windows and then take cover behind, the wall, and look through the windowsill, over the windowsill, and, attack enemies that way.
Have you got anything more ambitious planned than things like shooting the barrels in terms of scenery destruction?
Oh, I think if you've seen the trailers, you might have saw a fair bit of carnage in there. There's going to be some really cool destructive scenes quite early on in the game as well. But again, that's something we want the player to sort of experience for themselves. But we're really hyped up, and we think we've got a lot of awesome stuff, a lot of damage and carnage.
How will the AI try to outsmart you in firefights, especially when there's 3 of you in play?
Okay, so the combat AI is much more advanced this time, and they've got a lot more knowledge of the environment around the players as well. So enemies will react to how you how you play essentially. So in shootouts, AI will constantly be looking for a position to move to so they can expose your cover if you're on cover. So if you sit back and do nothing, they'll move forward quickly to swamp and flank you. So cover does give you tactical advantage over them, but you need to keep moving and then keep attacking to exploit it. It's also worth noting that enemies will behave different. For example, like SWAT, they'll be a lot more focused, just a lot more aggressive and flank you a lot more, but still be sort of aware of their surroundings, whereas gang members might be a bit more gung-ho. So you'll see the difference when you're fighting different types of enemy. You'll see the intensity levels change as well. I'm not saying it'll be easier or harder. It'll just be very, very different. It'll be obviously very different to see, depending on who's attacking you.
As a matter of interest, will there be much like scope for climbing and clambering in the game, and like agility-based stuff?
Yeah, we'll have a few missions where the player will have to do that. The player's movement's been worked on as well and much improved. We're really happy with it. I mean, it's still getting tweaked as we speak, but there'll be a few missions where, you'll be running around, climbing over things, clambering around, and, doing a few of the things that you've probably seen in the trailer as well.
So, Imran, maybe you could just run over how the three characters work together in firefights, but also how they differ in their approach to combat. Maybe their sort of preferred weapons or their, techniques that are individual to them.
Yeah. So in terms of how you've got the three characters working together in firefights, it's probably best illustrated by I'll give you a couple of examples of situations that arise in the game. So you could have all three characters together where they're attacking some enemy somewhere. So, the player can then position the three characters where they want. So you could say, okay, I'm going to have Michael go up on high ground, get a sniper rifle out and provide cover. Then I'm going to get Franklin, switch to Franklin, move him around the back, get him ready to sneak around the back. Then I'm going to switch to Trevor and have him just do a full frontal assault. And, there could be like a vehicle there, or, for example, there could be a bulldozer there. So I'm going to have Trevor go on the bulldozer, full on. And then once the player makes it move and goes in for the attack, for example, if they're controlling Trevor, he'll go in the bulldozer, they're controlling the bulldozer, ramming through cars, engaging with enemies. You'll have Michael, the AI, start sniping enemies, helping Trevor out. You'll have Franklin in the back, sneaking in the back, maybe engaging with enemies then, all making their moves. And the player will be free to switch between each character. So if he switched to Franklin, Trevor will continue what he's doing, Michael will continue what he's doing. But you also could have a situation where, if you switch to Franklin who's sneaking around the back, Trevor might have been in trouble. So you'd have to switch back to Trevor to get him out of trouble. But sometimes what might happen, Trevor might be under fire and he can't get a shot at whoever's shooting at him. So you'll have to switch to Michael, who was in the sniper rifle. And he's got vision on that guy that's giving Trevor trouble. So you can take them out. So it'll be something completely new, we feel, for players, and it won't feel like, it's a balancing act or there's a lot going on. I think we really feel like it'll just feel really natural and just engaging combat and just bringing a new element to to combat in general in games. So there's essentially be lots of options really for the player as well. And then you've got situations where you may be escaping, Michael and Franklin may be escaping from enemies, and you're driving as Michael. Enemies are chasing you in a car. They're shooting you. Franklin's shooting back from the passenger seat. You can just switch to Franklin, start shooting them, doing drive-bys, and then Michael will just continue AI-wise. AI will be driving the car. So it's really organic and freeform. And then, there'll be situations where the players will have specialist roles and will be tasked with doing one thing at a time, or, someone will be doing something, and the other player will have to maybe cover him or protect him whilst he's engaging in something else. I don't want to get into too many specifics or to give you an example there.
Of course.
But, we feel it'll be great for players, really. And when they experience it for themselves, it will be for the first time, because it'll be like a completely new experience. All three characters will feel different throughout the entire game. And not only in combat, they've got various stats that'll affect how they play, really. But with regards to combat, one of the main ways that they'll differ is the shooting stat. and special abilities. So the shooting stat will affect the player's capability to carry ammo, how much ammo they can carry. It'll affect their reload speed, gun recoil and accuracy, as well as like steadiness of aim and combat movement. So like I said, Michael, Trevor and Franklin will start with different skill levels, and the player will be able to increase their skill throughout the game. You can go to the shooting range to increase your shooting stat. Your shooting stat will also go up when the player kills an enemy. It'll go up slightly more if you took out an enemy with a headshot. So we're going to reward the player with how they play by increasing their stats, and it'll increase their shooting skill. With regards to the special abilities, Michael's special ability, that'll have a big effect on combat. Essentially, it slows down time and allows the player to pick off enemies very accurately. It's really visceral. As you taking down enemies in slow motion, you'll see them get taken down. And we've got nice filters on for these sort of things. And Trevor's special ability, that's another one based around combat. It's almost the opposite of Michael's, where Michael's is quite, like a skillful, slow motion aiming. Trevor's is essentially, he takes less damage and inflicts double damage. So he almost goes in sort of a rage-like mode where you can just take down enemies quite easily and not take any damage. And then Franklin's is not directly related to combat, but when he's driving a car, you'll slow down time and you'll be able to pull off some sort of spectacular driving moves. It'll allow you to really think of it like slowing down time, but you're driving still at the same speed, so you'll be essentially driving fast. So you can weave in and out of traffic with real pinpoint accuracy. You could just go, okay, I want to miss that car by 2 inches, and you can nail it. So it's pretty awesome. And allowing him to do that, drive, with that sort of skill, will allow Franklin also to perform drive-bys in slow motion, which is really cool. Which is useful, not as sort of combat heavy as Michael or Trevor, but his is different, his skills, and it gives them all, each of the three characters, unique flavor. And I think that we really feel that will have a bearing on the player, on the player who want to stay as, who want to play certain missions as. And the special abilities, they'll last a certain time, so the player can only use it for a certain time. But that in itself will have a stat. It'll have a stat so you can build it up over time, and therefore use your special abilities for longer.
It was an interesting point you made about Franklin slowing down time. Would that explain that scene in the trailer we saw yesterday where they're driving headlong on the wrong side of the road and weaving almost like laser-like between the traffic? Would the slow-mo allow you to perform activities like that?
Certainly with slow motion, it'd be a lot easier to do that than without it. With using Franklin's special ability will allow people to pull off really sick moves like that.
Awesome. Okay, well, my final question was really, it's been a fantastic opportunity to speak to you. It's not often we get to speak to Rockstar North. While we've got you on the line, is there any message you'd like to send out to GTA 5 fans and to the GTA 5 O'Clock listeners?
Oh no, we just really appreciate the support everyone's giving us, and how everyone's really looking forward to the game and watching all the trailers and everything. And we're going to try and produce the greatest piece of entertainment, and we're sure that no one will be disappointed.
So that was Imran. Thank you to him. Thank you to Rockstar for organising that. A cracking interview with some really interesting insight in there, Dan.
Yeah, some fantastic points made. I really enjoyed the stuff about using the car in creative ways, like being able to roll it in with the petrol tank open and fuel rolling out into your enemies. I thought that was fantastic. Strapping it with TNT was really interesting. I think it was just more than anything really great to hear the voice behind the people making the game. It's often easy to think of GTA 5 being made in a factory by sort of cosmic robots or something, yeah. But it's real human beings who care about the community and the feedback, and I think there was a real nice sense of that, and yeah, it was really great to speak to them. Okay, overnight, Dan, there were a few new screenshots off the back of the new trailer. Anything you wanted to pull out in those? We're not going to go through them one by one because most people will have seen them by now, and they kind of add colour to screenshots we've already seen, but anything else you want to add? Some interesting points from the community, I thought. And one, and can you correct me who this is from? Is this from Rob Andrews on Twitter?
Rob Andrews on Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, no, he pointed out, and this is stuff we dug out from a long time ago, in the original Rush casting call, which is like the big Hollywood talent voice casting, where they established a lot of the broad characters who appear in GTA 5 as we know it today. There was a call out for a character called Jerry Cole, who says he's 53, a disabled IT expert and criminal information vendor. Now, looking at the trailer yesterday, there was that sort of older dude in about his 50s using a walking cane. So, you know, is it putting two and two together to say that, hey, that's Jerry Cole?
I think that possibly makes perfect sense. That's
Okay.
a really good shout by Rob Andrews on Twitter. Thanks, Rob. A few of you pointed out that Dan and I don't really know the rules on I can't even say
Come
it.
on, Tim.
Medicinal marijuana in California. Dan, why was that?
Well, because you said it was pills or something, and he
Yeah.
was clearly walking out of a giant shop that said pipes and had a giant marijuana leaf. So we did the next logical thing and assumed it was a regular pharmacy,
Yeah.
like madmen. But yeah, obviously, as many of you pointed out, that is medicinal marijuana. What impact that has on the game, we don't actually know. Whether you actually get stoned or you have to take it, I don't know. But yeah, we were wrong.
Additionally, we said it was body armor in the weapon wheel when, of course, it is a parachute icon. We knew that, really. It's just we recorded the video literally seconds after it dropped, and we were watching it on a tiny screen. Or at least that's my excuse, Dan.
Yeah, well, thanks for pointing it out anyway. That's a really valid correction. We see him in the game. You know, one's kind of unhinged. Bit of a loony, lives out in the sticks. The other guy is a family man with kids and responsibilities, but, you know, a reformed cop. So it's exactly the right fit. Now, if true, and this tattoo is correct, we've got Trevor with a Michael tattoo on his shoulder.
What did the old man, that's his Twitter tag, have to say about this on our GTA 5 o'clock Twitter feed, Dan?
Yeah, another great spot. He says, in Catholic tradition, St. Michael is also the angel of death and symbolic of a man's good versus evil internal battle. Now, for Trevor, I'm sure there's a pretty large battle at play. And in fact, you know, Rockstar said this themselves, is that, you know, Trevor isn't without his redeeming qualities. And, you know, we speculated on the show about what his character arc might be. You know, it could be that there is good in him, a bit like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Actually, we went, does it honestly say brother?
Yeah.
Because a long-held theory of GTA 5 o'clock has been that, and, you know, spoiler alert, should it turn out to be true, that Michael and Trevor are in fact related. And our brothers, which is based on information, again, from the Rush casting call, where they put a call out for Simon and Albert De Silva, as they were known then. There was someone has pointed out is that, you know, if they were in witness relocation, it's extremely likely their names would have changed anyway. But in the Rush casting call, there were two brothers who exactly fit the description of Trevor and Michael as we see them in the game. You know, one's kind of unhinged. Bit of a loony, lives out in the sticks. The other guy is a family man with kids and responsibilities, but, you know, a reformed cop. So it's exactly the right fit. Now, if true, and this tattoo is correct, we've got Trevor with a Michael tattoo on his shoulder.
What did the old man, that's his Twitter tag, have to say about this on our GTA 5 o'clock Twitter feed, Dan?
Yeah, another great spot. He says, in Catholic tradition, St. Michael is also the angel of death and symbolic of a man's good versus evil internal battle. Now, for Trevor, I'm sure there's a pretty large battle at play. And in fact, you know, Rockstar said this themselves, is that, you know, Trevor isn't without his redeeming qualities. And, you know, we speculated on the show about what his character arc might be. You know, it could be that there is good in him, a bit like Darth Vader.
Yeah. Okay, that was this week's exclusive packed GTA 5 o'clock. We hope you enjoyed it. We certainly enjoyed interviewing Imran. We thank him very much for his time. Please do put your comments down below this video. Do get in touch via our Twitter feed. We have a look at all the things you have to say, and we try and include as many of you on the show as possible. In the meantime, thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing, and we'll see you next week.